SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Did you know Toyota of Brookhaven has sold more new vehicles the last 2 years than any other dealership in Southwest Mississippi? Come see why. Exit 40 Brookhaven or online at ToyotaBrookhaven.com. Great service, great savings. At Toyota of Brookhaven, we deliver.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Hey, good morning. Welcome on a Thursday. Thanks for joining us. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Couldn't do it without my man Lance pushing the buttons. Lance Tolbert in the studio. Good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday to you, though. So.
Yeah, thanks. Although this Thursday is, if this is my Friday, this Thursday/Friday is busier than most. So we got a pumpkin patch trip. Trip to Pumpkin Patch Day, school field trip. And coaches' meetings, Zoom calls from the pumpkin patch, I guess. Nice. And then jump on an airplane and head to South Dakota.
Well, that's going to be an epic weekend, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely tuning in for this contest. Not only to hear you, but it's a good game every year. It
really is. I mean, they played twice last year. Once in the regular season, it was a 4-point game. Once in the semifinals to go play for a national championship, and it was a 7-point game. So it's really cool. And, I mean, it's smaller. Like, it's a lot smaller than what we see on a week-in, week-out basis, but kind of what you think of if you've never watched FCS football is like, oh, the lower level down, these guys are pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's some players. There are some players in that division. Now, not every team's got the depth, obviously, but the key guys, you're going to find some real talent out there, too. You see them all over the NFL as well, so It's just not as many, obviously.
The Dakota Marker game is what they call it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So back in the 1800s, when when Dakota became North and South Dakota,
they were like, this is too much Dakota. We got to break it up.
It was a little too much Dakota, and they had to break it up. And so along the dividing line, every half mile, there was the one guy that put these out. They had these quartzite markers, stone markers. And on one side it had the marked ND, and on the other side it had SD. And that was the marking line between North Dakota and South Dakota. And so when they started playing each other in, I guess, the Missouri Valley Conference 20 years ago or so, they were like, hey, this game needs a trophy. There's so many other trophy games. But it's the 118th time they've played each other. Yeah. So they've been doing it for a while. Been doing it.
It's a replica. The trophy's a replica of the original quart-size monument.
Exactly. Yeah.
That marked the state. Boy, that's pretty cool.
Now, the original markers were 7 feet tall and 10 inches square at the top, and weighed about a gazillion pounds.
Granite or quartzite as well. I've seen those. The small versions. You'll see them. Mm-hmm. But the original must have been a beast. You couldn't get a trophy
big.
After that.
They were big. Yeah. So I got all that going on this weekend, but I'm glad to be with you before any of that happens. On Mornings with Richard Cross, and we welcome you. Remind you that the C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395.
That says that the actual trophy does weigh 75 pounds, though. So
Yeah.
That's a hefty
but not 750 or
exactly.
7,000.
Yeah, you got to be ready to hoist that one, though. I mean, that's pull a back muscle, a shoulder muscle,
Mm-hmm.
Careful with 75 pounds above your head.
Heaviest trophy for a rivalry game in college football. You know what it is?
No.
The boot.
Okay.
The Arkansas LSU, that bronze carved the two states together big old thing.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is gargantuan. If you're out early this morning, you know it is a crisp and beautiful start to another day in the Magnolia State. Ripley, you've got mainly sunny skies throughout the day with a high of 78, winds out of the west and northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mostly sunny skies for you in Grenada today with a high of 81, light winds. Philadelphia, mostly sunny skies, also with a high of 81 with light and variable winds. Tylertown, southern part of the state, you've got a mix of clouds and sunshine today with 82 degrees for your high and winds out of the east at 5 to 10 miles per hour. A little bit of a cool-off starts this weekend. We've been cool in the mornings and cool in the evenings, but during the daytime, still been warming up pretty nicely. Gonna be a little cooler with highs in the 70s across much of the state starting on Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on that. Remind you that Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Community Bank. Check them out online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Samuel Morey was born on this day in 1762. He was an American inventor of early internal combustion engines and a steamship pioneer, born in Hebron, Connecticut. I would imagine internal combustion engines and being a steamship guy in the 1700s, late 1700s, made you a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you were pretty popular. Yeah, and all the guys that were rowing and hoisting those sails, they're like, man, we love this guy.
Where's the guy that can make it go without us having to do that? Let's get him over here.
We could just party on the ship deck now.
John Heisman, American football coach. He originated the center snap, legalized the forward pass, coached Cumberland to that most lopsided victory in college football history, and was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Wait, no, he didn't coach Cumberland. He coached Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah, Cumberland's the one that got whooped.
Yeah. Johnny Carson was born on this day in 1925. There you go. American comedian and TV host from The Tonight Show. Here's Johnny.
Done no better side man than Ed McMahon.
Oh, how good was he?
Then he had his side hustle too, with the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, yeah.
That was cool. All the
What
commercials
if we show
they
up
would
on
do.
your door with a check for $2 million.
And they would. They'd like video people, going out and handing them out. You don't see that anymore.
No. Jim Bunning. That's an interesting guy. I mean, you want to talk about a life. I don't care if you liked his politics or not. He was a Hall of Fame pitcher, big league Hall of Fame pitcher, 9-time All-Star. In 1964, he threw a perfect game. In 1958, he had a no-hitter. Played with the Detroit Tigers and the Philadelphia Phillies. And then in his next life, became a United States representative for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, served in that role for a dozen years, 1987 until 1999, and then he decided to slip across the hallway and was a senator for Kentucky for another dozen years. That is a full life right there.
Yeah,
Jim Bunning from Southgate, Kentucky.
Yeah, congratulations. He accomplished a ton. I mean, being a Hall of Fame pitcher, 9-time Major League All-Star, perfect game, and a no-hitter, you think you can hang your hat on that. You're good. No, let's go be a congressman, U.S., and then a senator on top of that, for 20-something years? Mm-hmm. That's a life there.
That is a... Man, it's time to put your toes in the stand and take it easy a little bit.
I think so.
Jim Bunning passed away in 2017. Chichi Rodriguez, born on this day in 1935, famous Puerto Rican golfer, won the Senior Tournament Players Championship in 1986 and PGA Senior Championship in 87. You know him as the guy that sword fights with his putter, always had a smile on his face. How about this guy? Pele was born in 1940. Brazilian soccer attacking midfielder with 92 career caps. That's national team appearances in national team tournaments. He was the player of the century. 1,281 goals in 1,363 games. Born in Brazil.
Yeah, his coach, the original coach, was like, man, you can't play the way you play. You've got to play this real, regimented route. And it didn't work out for him. And finally, he just busted out and took off running and, scored goals. And the coach was like, all right, you just do that.
I'm going to do this my way, and you're along for the ride. Thanks, Coach. Michael Crichton. What a brilliant mind. American novelist. He wrote The Andromeda Strain and Congo. Screenwriter. He was the writer for both Jurassic Park and ER. And then a television producer, film producer, ER, Twister, Looker. Born in Chicago, Illinois. Michael Crichton. Passed away in 2008. Here's one more for you before the break. You'll like this one, Lance. Weird Al Yankovic.
Love the guy, man. That's one of my favorites of all time.
An accordionist and parody singer-songwriter with songs like Eat It and another one, Rides the Bus. He's an actor in UHF, a Naked Gun, born in Downey, California, 66 years old. Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
How come you're always such a fussy young man? Don't want no Captain Crunch, don't want no Raisin Bran. Well, don't you know that other kids are starving in Japan? So eat it, just eat it. Don't wanna argue, I don't wanna debate.
Oh, man.
What an American treasure.
Weird Al Yankovic. Weird indeed. And then he did the one about the kid that did the vandalism in Singapore. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it. You got I Love Rocky Road, and The Amish Paradise is a really good one, too. Like a Surgeon, Let's see. Trying to find the one you're referring to.
Oh, it was a parody of the
K-pop band.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
oh, you'll get some Britney Spears
there
today.
was this time who took a kid to Singapore and brought along his spray paint, and when he finally came home, he had cane marks all over his bottom.
Weird Al.
He said that it was from when the warden hit him so hard. I had forgotten about that one. The fact that those lyrics were buried inside my head somewhere.
You sang it enough to know them, yeah.
Yeah. All
You're
right.
a Weird Al fan. I like it.
Doug Flutie, born on this day in 1962, the College Football Hall of Fame quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner from Boston College, was a 3-time MVP in the Grey Cup. That's the Canadian Football League. Also a Pro Bowler in the NFL, Buffalo in 1998. He was born in Manchester, Maryland. Good-looking fella, Ryan Reynolds. He's 49 today, born in 1976. The Proposal, Deadpool, born in Vancouver, British Columbia.
And Mint Mobile. Yeah, Mint Mobile also.
And doesn't he own a soccer team?
Yeah, and was it? I'm trying to remember which one.
I don't know.
He
bought a mid-level team, and they've made a step up. He's serious about it. Am I making this up? Isn't he, knocking on the door of being a billionaire?
Oh, I'm sure with the Mint Mobile and with the soccer team is blown up, plus all the movies. I mean, goodness.
Wait, does he own Mint Mobile? Or
he's one of the owners of it, if I remember.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's made some great business moves, for a guy that was Van Wilder,
Yeah.
Great. I'm a fan of his work, too. There's quite a few, serious movies he's done as well, but 49 years old.
49. Yeah, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Hopefully a 49-year-old's got a long way to go. That's what I'm banking on. This day in 42 BC, you had the Battle of Philippi. Feels like it was probably a pretty big deal. Had the Roman-Republican civil wars. The Second Battle of Philippi, when Brutus's army is decisively defeated by Mark Antony and Octavian. And Brutus just shut it down, committed suicide afterward. Was Mark Antony a pretty bad dude, or was he like a pretty boy? He's got kind of a pretty boy name.
Yeah,
you got Brutus and Mark Antony?
I think Brutus was more of your heavy-duty guy. Mark Antony, if I recall, and I do have some background in Roman history. I just forgot a lot of it. But I think he was a very refined politician, but also I think had some military background as well, as most of them did.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure.
I mean, I just kind of feel like Mark Antony was probably a soap opera star back in the day. And Brutus was kind of a guy's guy.
He was a Roman consul or something like that.
Yeah.
And let's see.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up here.
I mean, it's good. We don't have to do that. 1731, and this is tragic. The library of manuscript collector Robert Cotton was badly damaged in a fire in London, lost one of only 2 surviving copies of King John's Magna Carta from 1215, and Asser's biography of King Alfred. Whew.
Not a good
Not
day.
just costly, but history.
Yeah.
Today in 1941, Dumbo, the animated film by Walt Disney, was released. And 17 years later, the Smurfs first appeared in the story Johan and Peewit by Belgian cartoonist Peyo. Years later, we would have Papa Smurf and Handy Smurf and
Azrael and Gargamel and
all the
Vanity Smurf.
They were
and
the bad guys.
Yeah, those are the heels. Now, I was thinking last night, my cats have been on a run with mice and lizards lately. As soon as the weather changes a little and you get a rain, I mean, I've just been getting presents left and right. But the bird dog came out a couple nights ago, and he beelined it back to the backyard, and he ran across a possum that he had been sniffing for a few days. And he immediately, like it was born in him, he grabbed that possum by its neck, slicked it around, and, like he was trying to crack its neck, threw it up against the wall, and the possum dropped down, laying there with his eyes open, teeth shining, and Hawk went over there and was
playing possum.
Over there nosing on it. And I was like, I thought maybe he had killed it because he had, rascaled it so bad. And sure enough, Hawk was over there nosing it. And that possum sat there for 2 or 3 minutes, just eyes wide open, teeth is shining. And I finally put the dog up, walked back outside, and the possum was gone. And I was like, all right. So I brought Hawk back out, and I went over, and he was so upset that the possum wasn't there anymore. I said, that's called playing possum, son. But, I have like a cartoon world in my backyard. And that's what, with the cats and the dogs, and there's all this stuff getting brought up all the time. So, the Smurfs kind of, when I was reading that last night, I was like, brings back great memories. It's kind of like my life when I get home. I just don't have the Smurfs. I got everything else.
This day in 1998... In this edition of The More Things Change, the More They Stay the Same, Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, even in 1998, and Palestinian Chairman Yasser Arafat agreed to the Wye River Memorandum, resuming implementation of the stalled Oslo II Accord, which established a level of self-government for Palestine. It was signed at the White House in Washington, D.C. Years later, we had to have more accords and another peace agreement. I don't think we've assigned a name to this peace agreement. People have just called it expansion of the Abraham Accords. 2001, the world changed forever. Apple released the iPod. And in 2015, Adele released her single, Hello. It became the first song with more than 1 million downloads in its very first week. C-Spire text line 601-879-4395. Rockin' B says, I thought we agreed no singing, especially a cappella. Yeah, well, when it's Weird Al, I don't think we're really calling it singing.
Yeah,
it was just kind of like talk humming or something.
This is the day that Britney Spears dropped the One More Time, Baby, or whatever that
Hit Me, Baby.
Yeah, it's Baby One More Time. You ask yourself the question, if her universe would not have absolutely imploded, how big would Britney Spears be today? Would she rival someone like Taylor Swift? I mean, because Brittany's still pretty young as far as a performer goes and had everything in the palm of her hand.
She would be on the backside of her career, but her career would have continued to ascend.
Mm-hmm. But how big she was when it all came tumbling down.
Oh, you're right.
You know?
You're right. All right, here's some news headlines for you this morning. A Meridian gang member will spend nearly 25 years in federal prison for running a large-scale drug trafficking organization in East Mississippi. Africa Rochon Seals was sentenced Friday to 24 years and 3 months behind bars. Ranking member of the Gangster Disciples, involved in a lengthy joint local, state, and federal investigation that began all the way back in 2022. Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics had the lead in coordination with the DEA, the Marshals, and the East Mississippi Narcotics Task Force. During the investigation, agents purchased approximately a pound of crack from Seals. 23, they executed multiple search warrants, resulting in the seizure of 3 kilograms of cocaine, 6 ounces of fentanyl, 5 firearms, 3 stolen vehicles, and $84,411, along with other things. His indictment by a federal, following his indictment by a federal grand jury, he was arrested in 2024, and then agents obtained probable cause to get another search warrant, 2 of them actually, and they went back in, and this led to the discovery of an additional 1.5 kilograms of coke, 1,500 counterfeit fentanyl pills, 2 firearms, another $88,237, and more crack. We sure 25 years is long enough?
Man.
Co-conspirators involved in the case, including Kiambra McCoy, are awaiting sentencing. Do you know about the kissing bugs? Temperatures begin to cool in Mississippi. Residents urged to be on the alert for a potential invasion of insects that want the warmth of your home. Harvard Pest Control, headquartered in Hattiesburg, is specifically warning folks to beware of the triatomine insect, commonly known as the kissing bug. Pests can cause Chagas disease, an illness that often yields fever, body ache, swelling, and can be life-threatening. A Tiplersville woman is currently battling an illness after having been bitten by a kissing bug. Seal cracks, reduce outdoor lighting, consult a licensed pest control provider, store your firewood at least 20 feet from the house, turn off outdoor lights when not needed, and bring your pets indoors at night to avoid the kissing bugs.
Get up, Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We have an early candidate for text of the day on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. The kissing bug was just a South American problem before Biden's open door policy.
Cost of unintended consequences.
Well played, friend. Well played. Hours after Mayor John Horn took the podium Tuesday afternoon for his first State of the City address, and he spoke on future economic development coming to Jackson, the city council got to work. They voted in favor of a move that could result in more construction surrounding Jackson's international airport, the Medgar Wiley Evers International Airport. City council voted 5-2 in favor of an agreement between the city of Jackson and Rankin County that will make it easier for not only the city, but also suburbs like Pearl and Flowood to legally include portions of the land within their municipal boundaries for purposes of planning and taxation. Horn's office reiterated that the interlocal agreement does not transfer or surrender any property that is owned by the city of Jackson. but rather it aims for shared economic growth in the Jackson metro area. The JAN Airport Complex is made up of roughly 3,400 acres, much of it lying within the incorporated city limits of Jackson and owned by the city of Jackson, but about 1,100 acres are in the unincorporated Rankin County, but still owned by Jackson. So 1,200 to 1,500 of the 3,400 acres currently are either unused or underutilized, according to a master plan by the airport authority. And the idea of Tuesday's vote, according to John Horn, is to make it easier for that land to be used for developments such as hotels, offices, industrial parks, and aviation-related manufacturing. I'm sure there are more details, or details if you prefer. On the surface, this strikes me as a really good idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in that area, and there's been zero development around the airport, which is a prime industrial and commercialized zone for its existence. I mean, you got a corridor coming out now off of Lakeland that will connect between Lakeland Drive and 80, which would be a shortcut on the east side, and then you have the Airport Parkway on the west side. Two very nice 4-lane roads in Lakeland and Highway 80 that it boxes it in, and there's nothing. It's just raw land all around it.
Yeah,
and
that's
beautiful
not really
land.
Yeah, that's really not what you see when you travel.
Any airports, go to any. I've seen abandoned ones that had more built around it than what we've seen the development here. So I think it's a great idea.
Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith leading the pack in terms of cash on hand this midterm election cycle, reporting $2.34 million in last week's FEC filings. Her closest competition so far is Democrat candidate Scott Colomb. We've talked some about the $570,000 raised and cash on hand as of his October filing deadline. We told you some of the places where Scott Colomb's money has come from. We need to do the same thing for Cindy Hyde-Smith. Her campaign's largest out-of-state donors included $163,000 from AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, $62,000 from the NRSC, that's the National Republican Senatorial Committee, and a bunch of other Washington, D.C. PACs that support farmers, business, and tech special interest. Roughly $143,000, 1.3% of reporting donations this period came through Win Red. I actually didn't know about Win Red. Maybe I should have, or maybe I've heard about it from somewhere along the way. But it's the Republican Party's counter to Act Blue, the network in place for national donations without listing specific names. Smaller donations, trying to make it easier for you to contribute. So that's where we are. And look, I mean, for some, if the money that Soros has contributed to Scott Colomb is controversial, to others, Cindy Hyde-Smith taking money from AIPAC might be controversial. Might be. The overwhelming number of Republicans, should say the overwhelming majority of Republicans in Congress have AIPAC as a significant donor to their campaigns, and it carries a lot of weight. And it's a big part of the reason that you see the support for Israel that you see. Israel supports the members of our Congress, and in turn, more times than not, the members in our Congress vote to support Israel. The U.S. military launched its 8th strike against an alleged drug-carrying vessel yesterday, killing 2 people in the waters of the eastern Pacific Ocean. The attack was a departure from the 7 previous strikes that had targeted vessels in the Caribbean. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, said on social media that the latest strike killed 2 people. I think that has been ruled 3, bringing the death toll to at least 34. Represents an expansion of the military's targeting area as well as a shift to the waters off South America, where much of the cocaine from the world's largest producers is smuggled. Hegseth's post drew a direct comparison between the war on terrorism that the U.S. engaged in post 9/11 and this war on drugs on the open seas.
And you notice there's a lot more going on in the Caribbean now that the borders are a little tight. There's a lot more going on there as far as the trade of drugs.
The path of least resistance is the path that the cartels will use. Period. When the borders open, that's the path of least resistance. Just truck it in. We make this real easy. Cut costs. Well, they stopped us this way. Let's load it up on boats.
The submersibles are the ones that are extremely interesting. Been doing those for 20 years.
Blew up a submarine the other day.
Yeah, blew it up. I mean, these things are basically fiberglass with a diesel engine, and they come from Colombia, where they build them generally up in these rivers. So they're kind of hidden from the view of law enforcement or the snooping satellites.
Not exactly nuclear-grade submarines.
No, but they are very high-tech for the lowbrow that they make them in. I mean, the conditions they're making these things in, there's no quality control or anything. Then they just plug some dude in there that owes them a lot, fills it to the rim or brim, and says, all right, see you, buddy. And, hey, good luck.
Here's a roll of duct tape in case you spring a leak.
Yeah, it's something to see.
Time for your sports headlines, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. That is pearlriverresort.com. After days of negotiations, Tennessee coach Tony Vitello has been named the new manager of the San Francisco Giants, marking the first time a big league team has hired a manager directly from a college baseball program with no experience at the professional level.
That's a huge deal, too.
Vitello, who considered staying at Tennessee, where he won the College World Series in 2024, replaces Bob Melvin following an 81-81 season for the Giants, their fourth consecutive year without a playoff berth. Vitello, regarded as one of the best coaches in college baseball. He emerged as the Giants' main target after former San Francisco catcher Nick Hundley withdrew from consideration. The new president of baseball operations for the Giants is Buster Posey. He's banking on Vitello's success, translating to the major leagues. Picked him over a couple of former big league catchers, Kurt Suzuki and Vance Wilson. Giants wanted him so badly that they were willing to pay the $3 million buyout to the University of Tennessee for the right to hire him. Pay for his services.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with if you win getting paid the money. That's your contract. But, you go out there and lose a bunch of games and they owe you $20 million.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I'm glad to see him gone, honestly. Heck of a coach and heck of a program he built up at Tennessee. But I'm happy he's out of there, honestly.
No doubt. No doubt. Let's see here. Had a couple of college football games last night. The old Wednesday night college football. The Blue Hose of, is that right? No, the Blue Hens. The Blue Hose are Presbyterian. It's the Blue Hens at Delaware. 31-28 winners over the Red Raiders. That's not right either. Middle Tennessee's the Blue Raiders, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So we had the Blue Hens and the Blue Raiders.
A lot of Democrat votes in there, huh?
I might ought to just stop with the mascots. 31-28 Delaware over MTSU, while Missouri State traveled to New Mexico State and won. Beat them 24-17. Coming up tonight, South Alabama at Georgia State. A little Sun Belt Conference action. Get you a lottery update and a few more sports nuggets when we come back. Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
From the Venable Glass.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
October 23rd, and this is your Mississippi Lottery Update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Online, find them at mslottery.com. No jackpot winner in last night's Powerball drawing. The estimated jackpot for Saturday up to $344 million with an estimated cash value of $163,700,000. Your next big chance to win Friday night when a Mega Millions drawing for $680 million as the grand prize will occur. The estimated cash value over $318 million. The numbers from Tuesday night's drawing: 2, 18, 27, 34, 59. The Mega Ball was 18. Mississippi Match 5. Jackpot is at $56,000. A Slidell, Louisiana man won $80,000 on a ticket from US 90 Quick Stop in Bay St. Louis. That was on a Match 5 ticket. Congratulations on that. That is your Mississippi Lottery Update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. mslottery.com. College football top 25 games that are coming up this weekend. Pretty decent slate. 11 a.m. time slot, you get UCLA at number 2, Indiana. Indiana undefeated at 7-0. Kurt Signetti got that great big fat contract, and he is going to be good to go for a long time. UCLA, those interim coaches post-firing have led the Bruins to 3 wins in a row. They're now 3-4 and 3-1 in the Big Ten. Who saw that coming? Syracuse is at number 7, undefeated Georgia Tech. 11 a.m. on ABC, it's number 8 Ole Miss at number 13 Oklahoma. Both teams 6-1. Ole Miss off to a 3-1 start. Oklahoma 2-1 in conference play. That was an expensive ticket. It has gone way down with a lot of rain in the forecast. 80% chance of rain throughout the day on Saturday in Norman. Number 16, Virginia travels to Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. South Florida is at Memphis. This would have been a top 25 matchup before Memphis laid an egg and got beat by previously winless in the conference UAB. South Florida ranked 18th. They're 6-1 on the year. In the afternoon window, number 4 Alabama travels to South Carolina. The spot where College Game Day is going to originate this week, Nashville, has number 15 Missouri at 6-1, taking on number 10 Vanderbilt, also at 6-1. Maybe the best game of the weekend.
And good for Vandy, too. I mean, game day, hosting that'll be huge for him. Pavia kid is something, man. Ooh.
Yeah, most expensive ticket in college football this weekend, $254 to get you in the door.
Well, I mean, they don't. What's the seating there these days?
A little over 30,000.
Okay, yeah.
It's small. High demand, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 11, BYU, is at Iowa State. Iowa State favored in that game, despite BYU being 7-0. Iowa State having a couple of losses. Number 23, Illinois, is at Washington. Oklahoma State 1-6 on the year. They've already fired their coach, traveling to Lubbock to take on number 14, Texas Tech. Tech trying to bounce back after losing at Arizona State. Tech is a 38.5-point favorite in this game. Baylor is at number 21, Cincinnati. Number 22, Texas in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. Bulldogs looking for their first SEC win. Texas a 7.5-point favorite in the ballgame. They narrowly escaped with a win in Lexington last Saturday night. Mississippi State had the heartbreaking loss in Gainesville last Saturday. Wisconsin is at number 6, Oregon at 6 o'clock. Also at 6, Stanford is at number 9, Miami. How about number 3, Texas A&M, undefeated and 4-0 in the SEC, traveling to Baton Rouge to take on number 20, LSU, shockingly under the lights. Boston College is at number 19, Louisville. Number 25, Michigan, is at Michigan State. Number 17, Tennessee, travels to Knoxville to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. And finally, Houston is at number 24, Arizona State. Sun Devils are 5-2. Houston is 6-1. How's Houston not in the top 25? I don't know. But they're not. And then finally, one other sports note for you. The SEC released its 2025 Legends class on Wednesday, and the two representatives from Mississippi, Gabe Jackson from Mississippi State and Bill Smith from Ole Miss. Jackson, a Liberty native, 4-year starter at left guard for the Bulldogs, started all 52 games in his career. As a senior in 2013, he anchored the offensive line on that record-setting offense led by Dak Prescott at quarterback. Didn't allow a single sack that year. 81st pick overall, went to the Raiders, and he started 132 of 136 games that he played in the NFL. Bill Smith was arguably one of the most dominant punters in college football history. For his career, he averaged 44.3 yards per kick. He had 32 consecutive games with a 50-yard punt, number 2 in SEC history for career 50-yard punts, had 86 of them.
It was amazing.
Made appearances in the Senior Bowl and the Blue-Gray game before being a 7th-round selection of the Green Bay Packers. Your sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, home of the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Book your tee time online at dancingrabbitgolf.com.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
Once there was this kid who got into an accident and couldn't come to school, but when he finally came back, his hair had turned from black into bright white. He said that it was from when the cars had smashed his soul hard.
Yes, Weird Al Yankovic bringing us back this morning as we roll into the 7 o'clock hour with you on Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for making MRC part of the start to your day. Mornings is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC. Thanks for joining us this morning. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Every day, the 7 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough. And if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. The government shutdown has now reached its 22nd day. Actually, today is day 23 of the shutdown, after Senate Democrats blocked a 12th attempt by Republicans to reopen the government via a clean funding resolution. This is all happening amid ongoing disputes over Affordable Care Act subsidies and Medicaid protections. President Donald Trump has accused Democrats of seeking a $1.5 trillion amount for undocumented immigrants in a White House speech, and fact checkers say that those claims kind of misrepresent the numbers. Expiring premium tax credits that could double the cost for millions of Americans. They say that's part of it. States, including California and Pennsylvania, are now warning of impending SNAP benefit losses for families, leading to National Guard deployments and bipartisan calls to reopen the government. Now, Republicans have repeatedly pointed out that the ACA subsidies were the creation of Democrats And the deadline for the sunsetting of those subsidies were also put in place by Democrats. You've also heard Republicans repeatedly say, hey, there's more here than just the subsidies. You've got millions of dollars going to random places around the globe. We get the whole Sesame Street in Iraq thing and LGBTQ plus programs in different parts of the world. But what's really at issue here? Republicans saying we will negotiate on the ACA subsidies, but not over the barrel of a gun. We will not blanketly agree to this $1.5 trillion tax on the American people, spending bill it's going to be applied to the American people before we open the government. We'll negotiate that. Here is a clean spending bill that extends the Biden budget, and they're now talking about possibly even extending that for way beyond the initial timeline. Democrats, though, are holding firm. They want what they want. And yesterday, Catherine Clark, the whip of the Democrat Party, said the quiet part out loud.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Oh, it's about leverage. It's about leverage.
Well, if you say it real soft and sweet, like a librarian, then it's okay.
This is awful. And of course we care about this. Man, but this is the leverage that we have, and so we are playing our card. So is Donald Trump going to cave to the demands by Democrats for this massive spending piece in order to reopen the government? Doesn't sound like it.
Well, I think it's a shame that it's shut down because we have the greatest economy, as you were saying before. We have the greatest economy in the world right now, by far, the United States. We have almost 18, now it was 17, now it's $18 trillion being poured into our country, and it's no time for shutdowns. I don't think it's affecting what we're doing, but it's too bad for a lot of people. We have a lot of good people that aren't working right now that should be, and it's because the Democrats want to try and renegotiate a deal that they had negotiated. They want $1.5 trillion given to illegal immigrants who came into the country, and it's going to hurt the health care of citizens of our country that have been paying into it, that have been working hard for it, that really deserve it. So we're never going to do that. It's not going to happen. And I will tell you, there are a lot of good Democrats that really want to make a deal. And I think all we need is 5 Democrats because we have a great support on the Republican side. So I think we need 5 Democrats, and there are a lot of them that want to make a deal. So I think at some point, common sense will prevail.
There you go. So $1.5 trillion for illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, not exactly true. But when Democrats tell you there's no money there for illegals, they're lying also. Both sides are grabbing what they think is a headline and using that to say this is what we're trying to do. Which side is going to cave? Which side's going to cave? It doesn't feel like this Republican Congress, Mike Johnson leading on the House side, John Thune leading on the Senate side, with Donald Trump in the White House, is going to cave on this $1.5 trillion deal that the Democrats want. I read one opinion last night, and that's all it is. It's an opinion. Maybe it's complete malarkey. Maybe it's 100% true. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle that said Chuck Schumer is going to quietly go to some moderate Democrats and say, just vote to reopen it. But he himself will not, so that he can save face in all of this. Would you be shocked if that's the outcome? Of course not. But how long can you go? How long are you willing to go?
With a face like his, he could go a long time, I think. So,
well, I meant more collectively, but
I'm sorry.
Fair
I
enough.
thought you meant
Fair enough. C-Spire text line open 601-879-4395. Brent in Caledonia says anytime you're looking for a Democrat that has common sense, you're searching for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, his name's John Fetterman. Fetterman is his name.
We're going to play some John Fetterman for you a little bit later. Who knew that he was going to be the voice of reason for Democrats? And when I say voice of reason, don't conflate the things that John Fetterman is saying with, is he turning on the Democrats? No, he still votes with Democrats 80 to 90% of the time. But on this particular issue related to the government shutdown, he's saying this is wrong. We need to get the bill in place, and then we need to go and do our job and negotiate a settlement, an agreement on how to extend the ACA. We need to make sure that people who rely on SNAP benefits are going to get their benefits on November 1st when those are due. And he's also been very outspoken about the fact that the Democrat Party has lost the plot in repeatedly calling Donald Trump a Nazi and a fascist, and therefore calling his supporters of Nazism or fascism. He says it's ridiculous. Somebody says news happens so fast. Remember Fetterman conspiracy that it isn't the same guy.
Oh, he 3D printing them now?
Pretty sure that's still John Fetterman that's speaking. Thomas in Greenwood says that he thinks Republicans are more likely to cave and extend the ACA subsidies. But that's the thing, right? If it was just extending the ACA subsidies, you might get there. There just does not appear to be an appetite for all the other stuff that is in the bill. The continuing resolution is a clean bill. There's nothing new in it. It's a bill that Democrats have supported repeatedly in the past. But there's a lot of other stuff in there as well. Scott Waller will join us coming up next. He's the president and CEO of the Mississippi Economic Council. Lot going on in MEC world, including getting ready for Hobnob.
From the Venable Glass Trip.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Whatever brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been looking for that woman, girl, who knows love can endure. And you know it.
Good to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Thanks for joining us this morning. 1 week from today, Mornings with Richard Cross will be in Jackson for Hobnob, one of the 3 annual meetings tied to the Mississippi Economic Council. To talk more about that and the other things that are happening at MEC, we welcome in Scott Waller. He is the CEO and president of the Mississippi Economic Council. Always a pleasure to visit. Good morning, Scott.
Richard, how are you today?
Doing well.
Good.
Thanks for joining us. Hobnob getting close.
It's getting close. A week away. It's hard to believe it's already October again, and we're in this. I remember last year I came in and talked to you, and you kind of tripped me up because it was on Halloween, and I didn't even catch the fact that we should be dressing up. And a couple of things scary, I guess, about that day right now. But anyway, things are good. How are you doing?
Life is good. We got lots going on, and looking forward to being with you and all the MEC crew next week, and perhaps the last meeting where this is going to be just an MEC meeting. We've been talking about a merger for a long time. How close are we?
It's not just close. It's done. There we go. We are really getting ready, and that's one of the great things that we'll be doing next week, as we'll be unveiling a lot of information about what the new organization will be doing, how it will be structured, and the look of what we'll be doing as the Mississippi Business Alliance. Earlier this month, we filed the official paperwork to form the organization. We've already had kind of an organization committee meeting to set the board, set bylaws, set leadership, executive leadership of the organization. So things are falling into place just like we expected, and we're very excited about it. You'll get to hear from John McKay, who will be serving as the president and CEO of the Mississippi Business Alliance on Thursday of next week, about his thoughts and visions for the organization. I'm looking very forward to my new role of serving as president of the foundation and really focusing on some key issues related to workforce development and other policy issues as we go forward. So we really are excited about what's happening. I think it's going to be a great benefit to the members of the current organizations to have a single voice. But more importantly, I think it's going to be a bigger benefit to the state of Mississippi for the business community to be united and focusing on how we move our state forward in the future.
All right, so remind us kind of the role of each of the three organizations. So you have the Mississippi Economic Council, which we've talked a lot about as kind of the state's chamber of commerce and the biggest cheerleader for economic development in Mississippi. But then you've got MMA, the Mississippi Manufacturers Association, and Bipec. So individually, what was the role for each of these three organizations?
So if you look at what kind of how we were structured, MEC's kind of, as you said, we are the state chamber of commerce. We are very strong in advocacy as it deals on kind of year-to-year issues, but we are also very important in helping drive a kind of a vision for growing our economy. Back in 2022, we released a report called Securing Mississippi's Future, Vision for Economic Growth. It was really a third alliteration of what we started, MEC started in the early 2000s, called Blueprint Mississippi. In other words, it was designed to be a vision plan for the state to look at things that would help grow and create a more economic development, strong environment for us to go forward with. MMA, it represents our manufacturers. Even though some manufacturers were a member of MEC, they really focused on the manufacturing sector, which is a huge sector in our economy. It still drives our economy, right. The most important sector in our economy, non-agriculture sector in our economy. So, their focus has been on making sure that the regulatory taxes, things of that nature, were in place so that manufacturers could be successful. And then Bipec brings the political involvement element to it. Most chambers across the country, in fact, all chambers across the country, are involved in at least having input and say, we got to have strong political leadership that's pro-business as we go forward, and that's the role Bipec had been playing for a number of years. So when you bring all of these things under one umbrella and as the Mississippi Business Alliance, I think what we're going to have is we're going to have the ability to really impact not only making sure that the political leaders understand the importance of being pro-business and are held accountable for that, understanding the importance of what's happening right now as it relates to whether it's legislative policy, regulatory policy, primarily at the state level. There is we do get involved in some federal issues, but for the most part, we focus our attention at the state level. And then the overall making sure that we continue to focus our attention on what Mississippi needs next as it relates to our economy. So having those three elements in a single organization, I think, is going to make us very, very strong. A lot of states across the country do it this way. It's something that we felt like was a model we could follow. And the leadership that we have coming up, and particularly, as I mentioned, John McKay and his role as the CEO of the new organization, has been a nonprofit professional for a number of years. He understands our state. He's from here. The fact that I can focus my attention toward something I'm very passionate about, and that's improving our workforce development across the state. And then Derek's expertise as it relates to political involvement. Derek Easley, who is the current CEO of Bipec, right? That's a pretty, not trying to be overconfident here, but that's a pretty strong team when you think about who we've got running that. And then you got the business support of the major companies across this state to help us get that done.
You mentioned the workforce development piece, and we've talked so much about that with you and with all of the other players in terms of workforce development. It's something that the governor has been consistently vociferous about. I don't know if I was planning on using the word vociferous this morning, but he's been a huge advocate of growing the workforce in Mississippi. We know Dr. Courtney Taylor and others have just worked tirelessly to encourage people to get involved, to seek the training opportunities that are there. But I saw the story. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. This grant on the coast of about $6 million that's going to go directly into workforce training for the shipbuilding yards, whether you're talking about Ingalls or Bollinger or Marine. And I thought it was kind of a sobering number. Lance and I talked about this a little bit. They've got to hire 2,500 people at minimum. And that's got to happen quickly. And, you think about having to hire a new manager, or you're hiring a new office assistant, and sometimes that process takes longer than you want it to. You talk about hiring over 2,000 people that need to be highly skilled and ready to hit the ground running. That's a pretty daunting task. And that's just in one segment of kind of the workforce development piece in Mississippi.
And that's a year-over-year thing as well. I mean, they're constantly looking in that industry, looking for employees because the work is there, the need is there. So you've got to be prepared. So I'll say this. I'll start by talking about, going back to when even Governor Reeves was lieutenant governor. He and I had multiple conversations about how do you structure things to help improve workforce development, whether it's giving students an opportunity to do something as simple as take ACT work keys to determine whether or not their work readiness and where they need to be helped as high school students and how that translates into post-secondary education. Then you look at the creation of the Office of Workforce Development, which is Accelerate Mississippi, and now Dr. Taylor being in that role. I mean, that was started in 2021. Ryan Miller came in and actually laid a great vision for the department. Courtney's followed that and really started to do the tactical work that's necessary for this thing to really be successful. I was very proud of our state. On Tuesday, I was in Washington, D.C. for the announcement of the Strata Education Foundation's report called State Opportunity Index. Mississippi was featured. Dr. Taylor was there, was on a panel discussing things that we are doing in this state to improve workforce development. And you think about all of the things we've talked about, how Mississippi's gotten attention for the improvements in education and the economic development that's taking place. Workforce development's right there with them. And the work that Dr. Taylor and her team are doing at Accelerate it's very important in that process. So I was fortunate enough to be asked to serve on an advisory council and putting this State Opportunity Index together. So for the past couple of years, I've been working directly with this group. But I wasn't the one that said, hey, we need to get Mississippi up here to talk about it. It was Strata that made that decision. So we've got a project that we announced last week, and we're going to expand it, talking about it at Hobnob, called Work Future Institute. And really, if we have time after the break, I'd love to just get into a little bit of details of how that public sector will get private sector support in continuing to grow workforce development.
We'll talk about that coming up, and another piece of the workforce development conversation. So it's about getting Mississippians that are here ready to work, but we also have a finite number of Mississippians. What about state population growth? Is that something that is on the agenda, attracting people to Mississippi to fill some of these jobs? We've got more coming up with you.
Has to be a priority.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. MRC is presented by Community Bank. rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Scott Waller is my guest, President and CEO of the Mississippi Economic Council. I mentioned this before the break, and talking about population. Mississippi has been at about 2.9 million in terms of the population for a while. And I mean, I suppose that number in and of itself is okay, but when you look at surrounding states, Louisiana is a state that has lost about 2% of its population in the last 3 years. Mississippi has lost a little less than 1% of its population. There are lots of reasons for that. I mean, some of it is older population, but it also has to do with people moving into the state. When you look at surrounding states, Arkansas, and these are numbers as of the end of 2023. The numbers lag a little bit. So Arkansas is up about 2% over a 3-year period. Tennessee's up about 3%. Alabama's up almost 2%. Georgia's up 3%. South Carolina's up 5%. North Carolina's up 4%. Florida's growing at a rate of about 5% a year. How important is it for Mississippi to capture more of that population growth? One, and how do you go about that? Two.
Well, it's important that we capture what we can, and I think there are a couple of things we're doing. Back in 2022, we did some research. We labeled it the Talent Initiative, and the idea was to look at what was important as it related to talent retention, and that means keeping particularly students coming out of post-secondary education in the state, and talent attraction, getting more people to move to the state. And the bottom line is this: you can talk to anybody and say, well, these large cities have these amenities, and that's part of it. I think it's important that we have something for people, particularly younger people, to do. But at the end of the day, there were two major factors. That's the economic factor. Is there a job that pays well that I can go to and work in that state or stay in the state and work in? And number two, public safety. So those two things drove kind of where everybody kind of put their attention as it related to what was needed. So when we think about this, we've got to think about two factors. One, we got to make sure we're creating jobs that pay well. We're creating opportunities for Mississippians. Our post-secondary education needs to be focused on the jobs we have here in the state. And I'm not saying that other degrees aren't important and people should be able to major in what they want to major in. That is true. However, the focus, particularly from a funding perspective, and that's one of the things we've kind of outlined in our Work Future project that I mentioned just before the break. We've got to make sure that we understand what businesses need, what the skill sets are for the people that go to work there, and then kind of focus our attention on making sure those skills are in place. Much like the large grant that was announced that you talked about yesterday and earlier today about the shipbuilding training that's taking place on the coast. Those are the things that we need to be putting our attention toward, because if we're actually meeting the needs of businesses that we have here, that creates the opportunity for those businesses to grow. It also creates the opportunity to show that we can also get the training for those companies looking to locate here. So those two things play on each other. And then the other element is there was a lot of discussion about how post-secondary education works, primarily for the folks coming out of K-12. But post-secondary education is there for adult learners as well. So how do we upskill? How do we reskill people? So all of those things are a big part of that. And that's why, again, I feel so good about where we are with what is being created. And I say being created because the Office of Workforce Development, Accelerate Mississippi, didn't start until 2021. It's 4 years old. And look at the progress it's already made in just 4 years. We've got the opportunity to really turn this thing in. What people like to refer to as the Mississippi Miracle, and a lot of people are saying the word miracle doesn't really work because a lot of hard work went into making that happen with improving our K-12 education. Same thing's happening in workforce development. It is a lot of hard work that's going to pay dividend over the next 10 to 15 years like Mississippi's never seen.
You talk about the big city piece of it, and I don't know that part of it's going to change, right? Jackson is what Jackson is the capital city and the largest city in the state. But when you compare that to Nashville, Birmingham, Atlanta, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, Raleigh, and North Carolina, all the big cities in Florida, we don't have that.
No, we don't.
And I don't know that piece of it's going to change. And so is it selling small to medium size town living? And how hard of a sell is that?
I think for probably someone that's...
I mean, we live here and think it's great.
We live here and think it's great. I think someone coming out of college that maybe is 21, 22 years old, it may be a harder sell. But over time, understanding, I grew up in a very, very small town in Mississippi. I understand the value of the small town and all that. And to Jackson, I'm bullish on Mayor Horn. I think that he is going to really try to do everything he can to help turn the city of Jackson around. And you need a strong metro, there's no question. But I think Mississippi's advantage is cost of living. The family is a pull for a lot of people to come back to the state after they've been out, gone and come back. And so I think there are a lot of things that we can really determine how we go about doing it. But I think when you compare cost of living, not just state to state, but region to region, we've got some big advantages that we can hopefully take advantage of those. But the whole key is making sure we have those jobs available that pay well, that give people an opportunity to work in the field they want to work in. That's the biggest thing as we do that. You put those in place and everything else takes care of itself.
Scott, how micro can you get in terms of workforce development and workforce training? And what I mean by that is making it regionally specific. We talk about the need for shipbuilders on the coast. You think about the manufacturing piece that's in the Golden Triangle and the need for people to be able to work in those factories, to have executive level jobs within those factories. You mentioned Ryan Miller earlier. He and I have talked a lot, and there's a focus in North Mississippi on tech development, especially in the healthcare and defense industries. How specific can you be in terms of workforce training, or does it have to be a kind of a wide net catch-all?
It really needs to be more on the specific side, in my opinion. And I think in Ryan's, Ryan just finished their kind of strategic plan for that area, and he and I had an opportunity to talk about that a couple of times, and he's kind of focused on how do you do that. I think when if you see the areas of the state that have been successful, the Golden Triangle, the Northeast Mississippi and the Pool Alliance area, Tupelo, they've taken a regional approach of what is it that they need and what are they trying to attract. And I think that's where you find success if you can really focus on that attention. Again, not trying to say that all majors aren't important at the post-secondary level, but some are more important is maybe a better way of looking at it. And we got to focus our attention on how we do that. So one of the things that we've talked about as it related to our Work Future project that we announced last week, and we're going to spend some time at Hobnob. We've actually got a panel coming in to talk about workforce development and kind of how it affects new companies coming to the state, existing companies who are growing, and then the state's role through Accelerate or kind of what we'll be looking at as it relates to the panel there and getting a little deeper into the kind of the what we want to do with the Work Future Institute. The idea behind the Work Future Institute is to do exactly what you just said, Richard, and that is have businesses become involved in the process so that they can make sure that whether it's Accelerate, our K-12 system, our community college system, our IHL system, understand what the needs are, what the training is necessary to make sure that we have the workforce for the jobs we have here. And again, that sets the table to create and bring in new jobs. So the private sector involvement in helping those that are handling this process of workforce development is vital. For us to be successful, they have got to be part of this. I heard there's a lady that I did a lot of work with through the years with U.S. Chamber. She's now with another organization. She was one of the speakers at the conference I mentioned earlier, and she said something very prophetic to me. She said, "You can't expect education to change if the business community doesn't get involved and let them know what they need." And I think that's where Work Future Institute is going to be a vital part of making sure that the education leaders across the state, the workforce development leaders across the state, the political leaders across the state understand what businesses are needing as it relates to workforce development. If we do that, we will be successful.
Well, and this is something that we've talked about before, and I think it's such an interesting example. We saw it a few months ago with William Carey University in Hattiesburg in a partnership with Howard Industries. Howard said, hey, this is what we need, and William Carey said, well, let's train people to do specifically this. And I thought it was pretty innovative thinking from the leadership at William Carey and that partnership, and hopefully we'll see more of those.
That's exactly what we've got to be doing. So, again, we're going to be talking about that at Hobnob next Thursday. If you haven't already, I encourage you, go to MEC.com. I want to say MSBA. That's our new acronym for our new organization, MEC.ms, and there's all the information. It's not too late to be part of the program on Thursday. We hope to see you.
Register online, msmec.com. You can see all the info about Hobnob. We'll see you next week, Scott. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Always enjoy our visits with Scott Waller. Appreciate him coming by this morning. You in the market for a new or a previously owned vehicle? Whether you are today and you're planning on buying this weekend, or maybe it's a month from now or a year from now, I would encourage you, like in the strongest words that I can possibly use, check in with my friends at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota before you make the final call. Whether they're your first call or your last call, give them a chance. We've got a really good selection of new and previously owned vehicles on the lot right now, trucks and cars and SUVs and vans and a whole lot more. And they're going to help you and make the process about as easy as it can be. You know, there are two industries that have a reputation of dread, right? Nobody wants to go to the dentist, and nobody wants to buy a car. Well, you try to find a dentist that makes that experience as easy as it can possibly be. Same thing when you're buying a car. You want the experience to be easy. You want it to be pleasant. It's an investment. It's a major purchase, and you want to be able to get what you want for the best price available, and Belk Ford will help you do that. They've got the best financing rates that you'll find anywhere. They'll get you into the vehicle that you want, that you can afford, that you need, and they'll do it with a smile on their face because they've got great people there who are going to work to get you the best deal. Service after the sale, the Belk family has been in the automobile industry for over 100 years. 100 years, that's a century. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be right there on Highway 6 West. Check them out online, belkford.net, oxfordtoyota.com. I have been a customer individually at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota since 1998, and I'm not going anywhere either. So check them out.
Hey, that sounds like a new business, too. You know, the good auto dealer dentist, you can get 2 for 1. I mean, that'd be a heck of a package deal there. You know, get your molars worked on while you get a new F-150 lined up.
Yeah. Somebody says, thanks, Cross, throw us dentists under the bus. No, I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm just saying that, like, that there are a lot of people that don't like to go to the dentist. And that's why when you find a dentist that you like, makes you feel good, makes you feel important, hopefully makes your mouth not hurt, you stick with them.
And gives you the gas.
That was Lance, not Richard. If you are a dentist in Mississippi and you want me to talk about you the same way that I talk about Belk Ford, we can talk. Reach out. I'm happy to.
You want a new grill, huh?
Yeah. If you're in the market for a new set of veneers, no, it's we get a message. C-Spire text line. This is a 901 number, so that may be a West Tennessee. Says, I love my F-150 from Belk Ford. Just saying. Yeah, you and me both love them. Thanks for joining us this morning. Some of those numbers that I was throwing at Scott, I understand that numbers on the radio can sometimes be a little daunting and a little hard to wrap your mind around. I was looking at this state population change map. So this is As of July 23, state populations in most southern states and Idaho had grown the most. And when you look at Mississippi population change from 2020 through the end of 2023, it was down 0.7%. But you compare that to neighboring states, Arkansas was up almost 2%. Tennessee was up a little over 3%. North Carolina booming, up almost 4%. And you got to remember that North Carolina also has a larger population to start with, so those numbers are significant. Georgia up about 3%. Florida 5%. Florida's growing like crazy. You wonder how they're going to be able to do the no real estate tax. They are collecting taxes in Florida, even though there's no state income tax and they're trying to get rid of the property tax. It's they got a lot of revenue coming in through tourism. That peninsula that is the state of Florida that has beach that runs from the northeast tip all the way down, loops around it, like all the way around it. And people move in there like crazy.
So you're saying basically Mississippi is not India. I mean, we don't need to quit making people. No. Yeah, we've got plenty of room, plenty of resources.
All right. Well, okay. To that end, in that same 3-year window, really 4-year window, 2020 through the end of 2023, 112,921 births, 128,144 deaths. So that's minus 16,000 just in the circle of life.
Yeah. We've had mortality rate issues, though, for years.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
As the older population passes on, and we're just not making as many children.
Yeah. Somebody says, I say about 50% of the people hate to go to the dentist and the other 50% don't go.
Yeah, that's a good one there.
Hey, we love our dentists, though. You get a toothache, whew, you need it. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. 8 o'clock hour is next.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine! Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Once there was this kid who took a trip to Singapore and brought along his spray paint, and when he finally came back, he had cane marks all over his bottom. He said that it was from when the warden whacked it so hard.
All right, so at the beginning of the 7 o'clock hour, I misidentified the musician. It was actually Crash Test Dummies. That actually is Weird Al Yankovic. Something happens at 6:11 in the morning, and you tune in at 8 o'clock, and you're like, what am I listening to? And it's like this... It all ties together.
It's a smorgasbord of awesomeness, and the video is really just one of the best ever. So if you haven't seen the Weird Al Yankovic, the video, you don't have to put the music on; just watch it. Good stuff.
You've got it locked into Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Appreciate you being part of the conversation. This Mornings is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Appreciate you joining us this morning at the end of this hour, about half an hour from now. Rich Lowry is going to join us. He is editor-in-chief at National Review. And his background is really, really interesting. He's an author, he's a writer, he's a regular contributor on some of the public affairs programs. He began his career, though, as a research assistant for Charles Krauthammer. And then in 1997 was selected by William F. Buckley himself to lead National Review. So look forward to visiting with Rich coming up toward the end of the hour today. A couple of things that are coming up that you need to know about. Today, Middays with Gerard Gibbet. I just gave him a new last name, Gerard Gibbet. More commonly known as Gerard Gibbert. He's going to be at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi for the annual Mississippi Aerospace and Defense Symposium presented by Aerospace and Defense Alliance of Mississippi, ADAM, ADAM if you prefer, and the Mississippi Enterprise for Technology. If you like acronyms, that's MCET. This event will showcase our state's capabilities, bring in new partners and investment into the state. To learn more, go to msaero, A-E-R-O, defense.org. That should be a cool show this afternoon. Gerard, I say this afternoon, this morning into the afternoon. Gerard, I am putting the onus on you. You've got great subject matter. You got to ask good questions. Dig for those stories. What a cool deal, though. There is a lot that is happening, especially in the Gulf Coast region, coastal Mississippi, if you will, in the area of defense technology, aerospace engineering. Be sure to check that out. 10 to 1 today. It's Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Or Giblet.
Gibbet sounded very English.
Yeah.
Gibbet.
So the third meeting of the Mississippi House Education Freedom Select Committee. Now, what would the abbreviation for that be? MHEFSC.
I don't know if I can say that out loud. Yeah.
MHEFSC. The acronym. So the third meeting of MHEFSC scheduled for today. 4 speakers set to testify before lawmakers regarding the expansion of school choice right here in the Magnolia State. It's happening at 2 p.m. this afternoon, room 113 of the Capitol in Jackson. Representatives from MAIS, the Mid-South Association of Independent Schools, MHSAA, that's the governing body for public school athletics and activities. Mississippi State Board of Education member Mary Werner and Sam Duell, who is head of policy for Yes Every Kid. So the select committee was formed by Speaker Jason White after this past year's legislative session to gather information as the House of Representatives continues to look to craft education freedom legislation for this coming legislative session. Jason White has publicly said that all forms of school choice will be up for consideration during the 2026 session, including public-to-public and public-to-private transfers. Ahead of the committee hearing, you may have seen this yesterday on social media platforms. Jason White looked to combat a rumor swirling from some of the anti-school choice groups claiming that transfers will result in overcrowding of schools, larger class sizes, and a great deal of unpredictability for school districts. Speaker White pushed back on that notion, saying, I'm paraphrasing, I'll read you the direct quote, but I'm paraphrasing, saying, even with the bill that was passed in the House last year, school districts, public school districts, have the ultimate control because they have the ability to say no to incoming students based on capacity limitations. Here's what he said verbatim. School districts will still have complete control over their admissions policies, and no school will be forced to accept a student it does not have the existing capacity to serve. School districts can limit the number of students they accept each year and establish cutoff dates to ensure class sizes remain stable throughout the school year. Administrators can and should take into account current capacity limits and budget constraints when making those decisions. Added that public school change being discussed aims to prevent a student's assigned district, quote, from holding the student hostage if another district is willing to accept them, close quote. A couple of things on this that are actually quite interesting to me about a couple of the guests that will be there, a couple of the speakers that will be there. We talked with MAIS a couple of weeks ago here on the radio. And to me, you may have had a different takeaway from this, but to me, the biggest takeaway was that MAIS said, yes, we are open to the idea of school choice being part of the offering in Mississippi. And we are open to the idea of accepting public school students into private schools, independent schools, as long as we are able to continue with the mission that exists individually within each of the schools. And he outlined the fact that, there are different types of private schools, independent schools across the Mid-South, but specifically in Mississippi. Some of them are Christian-based schools. Some of them have other missions on how to serve their community. And as long as they have the ability to maintain the mission that they serve, then they are open to that idea. And I think absolutely would welcome funding following students from public to private. I asked about the idea of, if you've got new money coming in, will tuition rates just go up at these schools? And his answer was not necessarily. He didn't commit to that, but he also didn't say, no, it won't happen. And he talked about certain costs that exist. Anytime you talk about public to private transfer with state dollars following, the immediate follow-up question is, or questions are, teacher certifications, standards, accountability. And the folks that we've talked to from the private school side of things say we absolutely are held accountable, and these are the testing models that we use. The problem is when you have taxpayer dollars, funding that comes from the state to different types of schools, how do you measure success with in a level playing field? Like, you have to measure everybody the same. You can't have one test for this group and one test for this group, and then like you can't do apples to oranges. And is that something that schools within the MAIS are open to? You've also got the MHSAA piece of this. We'll talk about that coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning, the 23rd of October.
From the Venable Glass.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts. And I am too sexy.
You're having way too much fun with this.
No, I know.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. C-Spire text line open to you at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. You can You can join the conversation there, and we would love to hear from you. You can also check out C Spire's website. There's always something new happening at C Spire. They are not a company that sits still, and there's usually something that is good for you as we approach the holiday season. You can bet that there will be deals for gifts to go under the tree or for birthdays or special occasions. C Spire has evolved as a company. They're an advanced technology company that transforms how people connect, live, and work. You can learn more about that on their website, cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Thomas in Greenwood says accountability is laughable. Private school kids are better educated than public school kids. Thomas, this is one scenario of you taking the biggest paintbrush you can find and painting with it. You are absolutely painting with a broad brush there. Because like you, I can go to private schools and pull certain students and go, look at the education of this child. This is unbelievable. But I can also find children that are in private schools and go, this kid's really struggling. In the same way that I can go to virtually every public school in the state of Mississippi and say, would you look at this kid, this national merit finalist, this 35, 36 on the ACT, this 4.4 GPA with scholarship offers to a dozen different schools from public schools all across the state of Mississippi. But I can also find students within public schools in Mississippi who are in their high school years who cannot read. And so saying something as general as public school kids or private school kids are more educated than public school kids, forgive me, Thomas, forgive me. That's just dumb. It's just dumb. And I'm not trying to be rude when I say that to you, but you're a really smart guy. And you read a lot, you stay online a lot, and obviously you are a longtime listener to this show, and we appreciate the interaction, we do. But that is one of the dumbest statements that you have made, painting with a broad stroke brush and making a blanket statement where you say, private school kids are better educated than public school kids. That's just ridiculous. And if you think the only way to compare education levels is by looking at ACT scores, you are digging the hole even farther. So we're talking about this education hearing that's happening today, the House Education Freedom Committee. And we're talking about some of the speakers that are going to be there. MAIS was one of them. MHSAA. I think I am duly noted as a person that has been critical of a lot of the decisions made by MHSAA. But I also recognize that that is a really big job. And you've got 82 counties with, nearly over 200 school districts in the state of Mississippi. We're talking about public schools that vary in size from 100-ish students across their high school classes, 9 through 12, up to over 3,000 students. And you want to talk about there not being a one-size-fits-all solution when you're talking wealthy schools, poor schools, big schools, small schools, schools where the public supports them, schools where they're just hanging on for dear life. And you've got to put legislation in place that you hope is good for all schools. So how does the MHSAA fit into this conversation about educational freedom? Pretty simple, I think. If you allow open public to public or public to private transfers for students you can bet your bottom dollar. If you are down to your last dollar and you can find odds on this, bet your last dollar on this so that you will have two going forward. Athletics programs with the ability to do so will, all capitalized, bold, highlighted, italicized, and underlined, will take advantage for the purpose of making their athletics rosters better. It will happen. 100%. And so, I would say to you that the opinion of the MHSAA, which governs not just athletics, but all extracurricular activities, band, theater competitions, varsity sports, choral competitions, etc. All of the activities that are sanctioned that happen within the state of Mississippi fall under the umbrella of the MHSAA, the Mississippi High School Activities Association. And so the perspective of the MHSAA as it pertains to school choice, to me, is one that is important. You got a hotshot baseball player that plays on a bad to average team in a county that is next door, or even in a district within the same county of an elite high school baseball program, and the elite high school baseball program thinks that they are only short a left-handed pitcher, or they are only short a shortstop that can hit 350, you don't think they're going to make it as attractive as they can for that elite baseball program that's part of a bad program to bring that kid over? That's not why we're doing this. It's not why we're having this conversation. The conversation is about doing what is best for students academically. But if you think that athletics and extracurricular activities are not going to play a role in this, you are cray-cray. You got your head buried in the sand. It's just, like, it's not even debatable. Well, and my guess is you've got some coaches out there that are, even if they are in districts where the school leadership, principal level, superintendent level is like, we're not for school choice and this transferring. You got that coach sitting there going, man, I hope the speaker's got a plan to get this done, because I need 2 offensive linemen, a wide receiver, and a free safety bad for next year.
Well, and also with money being always such in short supply in education, if the money follows the kid, wouldn't it be lucrative for a school that may be at capacity to go, we could handle a handful more. We
really don't have room. But that kid's a switch hitter, and he plays a mean first base. Or track star. We're a hotshot 100-meter sprinter from being a state championship team. All right, let me try and work in as many of these C Spire text line messages as I can. I think I struck a nerve. Look at Tupelo. I guess this goes back to talking about the difference between public and private. If you're in accelerated classes, it's a pristine education, and then there is their general learning. Cajun Clippin says homeschool is the way to go. JR in Starkville. So, Richard, you're saying kids are different? You think? Let's see here. More opportunities in public schools, but it depends on the student as to what learning they achieve in either. That's from Gary in Carrollton. And, Gary, I'm going to give you a gold star, because you, my friend, hit the nail on the head. The fact of the matter is all kids are different. And what is best for one child might not be best for another child. And a lot of you would point to that statement in particular as why school choice is so desperately needed, because it's the parent that knows their child best and knows what learning style, learning environment that their kid needs. But you got to remember, when you hear an administrator advocating against school choice, they may recognize that point as well. Different kids need different things, and maybe are even supportive of you do what's best for your kid. But they have to make decisions for the entire student population and what's best for the entire school district.
Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
25 years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. A gorgeous day across the Magnolia State on this 23rd of October. Excited to have our next guest, first-time guest, I believe, at least with me. Rich Lowry, editor-in-chief of National Review, joins us this morning. Rich, I appreciate some of your time. Glad to have you in the state of Mississippi.
Of course. Great to be here.
So I'm certainly fascinated about you being here and visiting with MCPP for their Mississippi Freedom Awards event, the Mississippi Center for Public Policy. Fascinated with what you do full-time, but more than anything, from your bio, I'm so fascinated about your career path and how you got here to this point. In working with Charles Krauthammer, having William F. Buckley select you as the guy to lead National Review. So many people remember Mr. Buckley from Crossfire and National Review for all those years. It's a fascinating journey you've been on.
Yeah, no, I'm blessed with a couple incredible, very formidable bosses, Charles Krauthammer first and then eventually William F. Buckley. So I spent most of my time terrified in my 20s when I was working for these gentlemen. Charles, we all know him from Fox News, and he's such a brilliant mind. And, I was working for him as a 21-year-old, and I always thought he was thinking I was an idiot, and maybe he was, but incredibly gracious guy, and just what he was able to do to overcome his disability. Someone had to think about every move he made in life and how he was going to explain to people what he needed, and he wouldn't have been able to do it without this just brilliant clockwork-like mind. And then Bill Buckley, a giant, obviously, of American conservatism in the 20th century, oftentimes didn't understand what words he was using with me, had to guess, but also an incredible guy. So, it's our job at National Review to carry forward his legacy, which we attempt to do all the time, but very important also to carry forward his ideas, and that's why I'm down here in Mississippi, your beautiful state, because you guys have been knocking it out of the park with a lot of work from the center here, which is having a gala to celebrate what's been happening in Mississippi in terms of the economic growth and actually teaching children how to read. That's quite a concept.
Kind of a big deal. Turns
Absolutely.
out that those reading skills matter. You used the word conservatism a second ago, and I think that's important. And there's a distinction because conservative and Republican are not always the same. Democrat and liberal are not, I guess, always the same, although more times than not they seem to be. What is the goal of National Review as it exists today?
We every day we plant the flag for the ideals that we think and principles that we think have made this country great and are important to its surviving and thriving over the long term. Free market, right up there. Traditional virtues, people taking personal responsibility for their lives and living their lives independently outside of government support and having a strong America abroad. We think these themes, these principles have been key to making America great and are key to keeping it great going forward.
Yeah, it's so fascinating in the way that we consume our news and the polarization that exists within parties. There are some people who would say, hey, some of those things that you're talking about at National Review and you say are the standard on a day-to-day basis, those are rhino principles. Those aren't actually true Republican principles. And it's really crazy to think that in some ways Bill Buckley would have been labeled that way in today's political climate. Am I crazy about that?
No, the party's in flux. It has been in flux since 2016 when Trump took over. I mean, Trump is arguably the most dominant political figure in American life since Franklin Roosevelt. This will be known as the era of Trump, the way the 1830s were known as the era of, of Andrew Jackson. And Trump.
If you need, there's a cough button there in front of you. You can hit that one. It's hidden sometimes. I know.
So, I'm going to take advantage of that.
I don't blame you. I do that from time to time. I just kind of hammer it and make my mic go away.
Yeah, so Trump overlaps with a lot of the principles that I was just outlining, but not entirely. There's a contention over what's free market conservatism and what's populism. They've always been part of the Republican coalition, both of those tendencies, but the populist one is now more ascendant than it has been in the past, and at times is at tension with or contradictory to free market principles. I'd say tariffs would be the foremost example that we've had in the Trump administration. But so much of what he is done, I wholly support, and I think National Review conservatives do and should support, whether it's tax reform or whether it's his robust posture abroad.
You talked about what's happening in Mississippi. I would say that there are two big items that have kind of grabbed attention nationally. Obviously, the decision a year ago with regard to the state income tax to accelerate the phase out of that. Mississippi had lowered income tax rates, and now it's the elimination of income tax over the course of about a decade, maybe a little bit longer. And then the education piece, the advancement in reading scores, K through 12 education, seeing Mississippi rise from the bottom of the barrel to the top third nationally. From a national perspective, outside the state of Mississippi, what have you observed, and what are people saying that don't live here?
Yeah, so I think actually, shockingly, Mississippi is really beginning to get credit in precincts you wouldn't expect for the education reforms and the reading reforms. California passed a phonics bill several weeks ago, right? And phonics used to be, you're stuck in the mud and you don't know the latest reading theories and you're not modern. But of course, every parent has ever taught a kid how to read. You teach them how to sound out the words. And it takes an intellectual or a member of the education establishment to come up with some counter theory for how you do that. So Mississippi went back to basics and then, very important, set high standards and expectations for everyone, right? We're not just passing you through and graduating to fourth grade, no matter what your reading competency level is. If you're not up to going to fourth grade, we're going to hold you back. And I think that's been hugely important. It sends such an important signal and gets the attention of the parents, of the teachers, and of the siblings. And the research on this, Florida led the way on this idea of holding people back in third grade, is if your older siblings held back, you do better academically, right? Because everyone's focused, that's not going to happen on to you. So I think conservatism, if you get down to the basics of it, the most important things are freedom and order. You need both of them. They interact in a dynamic way. They can be at tension, but we've seen both of those things working in Mississippi as you expect. Freedom, the kind of labor market reforms, tax reforms, catalyzing this extraordinary growth that you've seen, economic growth in Mississippi, and then order, standards, high expectations, discipline, working on the education reform. So Mississippi is referred to as a miracle. I don't think it's a miracle, because a miracle is when something happens that is not in accord with the known laws of the universe, right? Jesus multiplies the loaves, Moses parts the Red Sea. Those are miracles. Doing these kind of reforms based on these principles are not miracles. They have led to the predictable results, which are amazing successes for the state of Mississippi.
And, there are a lot of people within the education community and within the legislative community that just said out loud, amen, thank you for saying that, because there are a lot of people that point to this was part of a plan. It was not easy. It was hard work, and it took a long time. And now the results are coming, and everybody just sees the results, and they're like, "Hey, it's a miracle." And they're like, "Actually, no, right. We worked really, really hard to get to this point."
Absolutely.
You bringing up freedom, and that particular word, education freedom, is, there's a very fascinating debate that is happening in the state of Mississippi right now about school choice. We know that President Trump is for universal school choice. The Speaker of the House in Mississippi is beating that drum and is trying to push legislation forward. The Senate side of things, less so. And hearing from education leaders, especially in the public school districts, kind of push back on the idea of school choice because of some of perhaps the unintended consequences, it's a pretty hot debate right now where we live. we're seeing other states around Mississippi that have taken on some version of school choice.
Arkansas, the latest, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the reports are glowing, but if you dig a little bit deeper, they may not be quite as successful as initially thought of. What is your take on this school choice debate?
Yeah, well, I support it as a matter of principle. I think we've been stuck in this kind of industrial age model where everyone has to go to the same school at the same time, learn the same things. And I just don't think that's right. Yeah, I heard you before I come on. I was coming on talking about this. Some parents should get to choose, and they know what's best for their kid. And it may be a kid needs single sex education. You need a boy is having trouble in a school that's run by and for girls and needs a different environment to have that kind of discipline. Maybe a kid's extremely talented in math and needs to jump ahead 2 or 3 grades. Maybe a kid needs more help in reading. Whatever it is, I think the parent should not be exist in this coercive environment that's one size fits all. Doesn't mean school choice is necessarily going to be a miracle and everyone absolutely is going to do better. But I just think it's a matter of principle that the parent gets to decide. And I do think net it is better for kids' education. So I'm a very strong supporter of this concept. Mississippi has led the way in a lot of ways recently. This is one where it needs to kind of catch up, I think, to its neighboring states.
You got time to hang through the break and visit for
Absolutely.
a couple more minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Rich Lowry, editor-in-chief of National Review. I want to pick up on exactly what you said. In principle, I think there are a lot of people agree, but in actuality or in implementation, sometimes that's the harder piece of this. We'll continue on the other side of this break. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Online at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. We're back right after this.
I can always get by, 'cause my pleasure don't cost me a cent. Round and round and round, you leave me on the ground, and up and down I go.
From the Venable Glass
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, baby.
Couple of minutes left with Rich Lowry, editor-in-chief at National Review, kind enough to stop by and join us today. He is in Mississippi for the Mississippi Public Policy Institute Awards Gala that is happening. We're glad to have him here in the Magnolia State. And Rich, I want to go back to your statement, at least in part before the break, where you said you agree with school choice as a matter of principle. Mm-hmm. And I think most people would actually align with that. I think you would be hard-pressed to find parents or educators who wouldn't say, I want what's best for the kids, and parents know their kids better than anybody else. But the implementation of that, at least here in Mississippi, has been a sticking point in all of the details of, how do you fund that? Is there enough money? Because one of the areas that Mississippi has excelled has been in terms of a budget and surplus and staying in the black and not digging themselves a hole financially. And there are just a lot of kind of intricate details that go into getting to the point where you say, yeah, everybody gets to choose.
Yeah. So I don't know enough about the Mississippi fiscal situation to presume to get into the details with that with you. But I would say I trust the speaker. I trust the governor. Given what's been happening in this state, I think they can figure it out and make it work. And, yeah, implementation matters. And it's just not a matter of principle, though. You look at Florida, which I think has been one of the states that's excelled best when it comes to education. And this has been part of the mix, right? The reading reforms we're talking about, they did them in Florida as well. They are part of the mix. But school choice has definitely been part of it. Private schools, they make the public schools better. If you're worried about as a public school losing kids to a private school, that's going to get you on your toes. And then there's just the matter, as I think we both agree, parents know best. Parents talk. If a school's not working, parents will know about it. They'll tell other parents. Word will get out. And I just think in the 21st century, when we have choice everything, multiple choice, absolutely everything, things that don't even matter, we have an incredible level of choice. To have this is so central to the lives of families and the future of kids, you should have that choice.
I want to throw something at you. This is very big picture, and you may be like, come on, Richard, not right now. But it does feel like we are in an endless election cycle right now. From the day a president is elected, we're already looking to who is next. You talked about the force of personality that Donald Trump is. There's nobody in the political world, at least that we know of right now, that has that same just aura around them.
None.
You mentioned Florida. Ron DeSantis has done a lot of good things and has been very conservative. There may be an outlier, but he is very conservative in nature. Obviously, J.D. Vance with kind of that role as vice president, and then Marco Rubio, who is carrying this massive load of responsibility.
Yeah.
And
not just
seems
Secretary
to be,
of State, like 3 or 4 other things too. Yeah,
exactly, and seems to be excelling.
Yeah.
When you look 3 years down the line, which in reality is a year down the line until people start talking about who's going to be next.
Yeah.
What are your big picture thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's Trump's party, and it's going to continue to be his party for some time. So I think the likeliest thing, that this is really speculative, but I'm a pundit. What I do is speculate without consequence. That's kind of my job description. You got to say J.D. Vance has massive odds to be the next nominee of the Republican Party, because you look at his career, it's been based on winning the favor of Donald Trump. He doesn't win that Ohio Senate primary without getting Trump's endorsement. He obviously isn't Veep without getting Trump's endorsement. He's on the inside, and this is the third one he needs to have, 50-50 chance of being the next president of the United States. So I got to believe that's going to happen. Now look, weird things can happen. Trump's always an X factor, but I think that's the most likely scenario. And if he gets Trump's endorsement, I think it's basically not a race. I mean, some people run against him, but he would have overwhelming odds.
If you're Marco Rubio, do you have the patience to just sit still and be a good soldier for 4 or 8 more years if J.D. Vance were to win the nomination and ultimately the presidency?
I do, because once you have this ambition to be the president of the United States, most people don't have it, but if you do, it doesn't go away, right? And you're willing to play. What kind of long game did Joe Biden play, right? He waited until he was senile to be president of the United States and still wanted to do it. So there's plenty of time for Marco Rubio. It wouldn't shock me if there's talk about a J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio ticket, which would be, there's always personal factors at play here, but on paper would be quite strong. So I think he continues to have a bright future in the party, Marco.
And then the opponent, where do Democrats go as they seem to be wandering blindfolded and lost?
Yeah, so I think there are 2 potential paths here. One is finding like a Bill Clinton type figure in 1992 who they lost 3 times in a row. Maybe that's what it'll take for this to happen again. But realized the party needed to change. It needed to be more culturally sympathetic to the great middle of the country. And he said no to the left on key things. Or there's the AOC path. If I had to guess, it's more like the AOC path.
Who would that Bill Clinton be? Like Andy Bashir, who's conservative locally, but not when he gets outside of Kentucky. I mean, conservative for a Democrat anyway.
Someone like that, maybe even a Wes Moore in Maryland. But I think the party will continue to go left, is my guess, though.
This political world in which we live is going to continue to be fascinating. Rich Lowry, thanks so much for being in Mississippi, and thanks for spending some time with us this morning.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Editor-in-Chief, National Review. That does it for us on this Thursday morning, the 23rd of October, Mornings with Richard Cross. I think Dave's in tomorrow alongside Lance. I'll actually be out Monday and Tuesday next week, so we will catch up with you soon. MRC, thanks for joining us. Have a great Thursday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.